Hey guys, what's up? It's Phoebe from Alternative Twist Radio. So today I have a new reading for you from Dusks and Dawns, written by S.S. Ralph. Dusks and Dawns is available on his website at driftwoodblackheart.com. Go check it out. It's an awesome book. It's a horror, sci-fi, and dark comedy. So this is a clip from chapter 4. Dr. Kevin Doyle peered out of his office window from the only hospital located in the heart of hell. Outside where the eternal fires burned, there were large crowds from the Church of Satan and many demons celebrating the expected birth of an unholy one. There was only drinking and debauchery in the main streets that belonged to the royal families, but he was safe inside. The doctor and his immediate family had asylum from any harm, well, within limits. They were still considered to be damned and should suffer. Yet, because hell would always need their services, they were given certain privileges, like a comfortable home, clean water on tap, electricity, and a telephone. He closed the curtain and went back to his desk to finish some paperwork. Feeling very distracted from the anticipation of what was sure to unfold tonight, he put down his pen and looked over at his son and daughter, who were passed out on separate couches. The last few days had been very stressful for his family and staff. The Dark Lord was recently increased random beatings for the lost souls, causing the hospital to be flooded with victims of extreme cruelty. The two worst cases had been caused by Lily Kubrick, Hell's high priestess and the most brutal resident of the netherworld. The good doctor removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes, which burned from the lack of sleep. Doyle tried to block out all the memories of the violence that had occurred recently and attempted to focus on the situation at hand. It was late into the second night, and Stacy Campbell's water had broken a little over 8 hours ago. He would soon receive a message when her contractions were more frequent and he needed to make a house call to deliver the baby. The weary doctor looked at the decanter in his office and longed to have just one drink to calm his nerves, but thought better of it. He had to stay 100% sober to deal with this hazardous predicament. The Campbells were by far the most dangerous breed of demons that resided in hell. They were not the most vicious or cruel. They were, for the most part, usually docile and busied themselves with their studies. What terrified him was that they possessed powerful demonic powers, and he wasn't sure if Stacy could control herself in this present state. The father of the child was proof of what could happen if she lost her temper. Dr. Doyle fixated on the telephone, dreading the call. He got up from his desk and went through all the medical supplies he'd gathered on the front counter of the reception area, wanting to be damn sure he was prepared for any circumstance, not wanting to overlook anything. Just one mistake would surely be fatal. Feeling satisfied that everything was packed, he made his way back into the office and almost jumped out of his skin when the phone rang. Scott and Stacy sat bolt straight up almost simultaneously where they had been resting on the sofas. Both stared at the phone in horror as the father slowly walked over, picked up the handset, and placed the receiver next to his ear. Dr. Doyle's office, he spoke into the mouthpiece. Melissa Campbell, Stacy's mother, replied on the other end. "We believe it's time for your assistance. I'll send Roy and a small group of children to escort you safely to our residence." "Yes, Master. We're ready to go. I'll wait here for your son to arrive." Every person outside stood in silence while a small group of 6 children of Satan advanced towards them, carrying torches and lamps. Above the children's head was a scrawny, limp figure with long, greasy black hair covering his face. Roy Campbell floated in midair and casually rotated clockwise. Everyone in the Campbells' immediate bloodline shared this frail appearance and composed themselves in this manner. The demons were born with paramount telekinetic abilities that could control any object, living or inanimate, in their general vicinity. They rarely moved their limbs, which is why they all had that atrophied appearance and hovered to transport themselves. Campbells also had the ability of reading minds and directing their thoughts into a person's brain when they wanted to converse with somebody. All one had to do in reply was to think of an answer. Nobody in hell could figure out why they spun in circles, but they all did it in the same pace, always clockwise. Some people speculated that this connected them somehow, a strange sort of bonding. They could now see in the far-off distance that a swirl of dark clouds was circling overhead, clockwise, at the same pace as their evil escort. They knew that directly under the small cyclone was where all the Campbells had gathered in anticipation of the blessed event. They had approached the turnoff to the driveway that led to the Campbells' estate. The doctor could feel a slight churning in his stomach and could sense static electricity in the air. At the end of the driveway was a large iron gate that Roy opened with his mind to allow the small party entrance to their grounds. Everyone else who had been following them remained on the other side of the fence and shouted out words of encouragement for the soon-to-be uncle. At that moment, a blood-curdling scream shook the entire house. Melissa looked up with fright. "We should all be with Stacy now. The poor girl had been frantic, waiting for her brother and father to come home." Roy started to leave the room, but his mother hiked up her skirts and hurried past him. The doctor and his family tried to keep up with her as she made her way upstairs to Stacy Campbell's room. When they all entered the bedroom, Dr. Doyle saw that Stacy was strapped down to the bed, wearing a thin, sweat-soaked nightgown that barely covered her knees. The girl's bony legs were propped up in the birthing position, and she was breathing short, shallow breaths. Melissa went beside her daughter and stroked her sweaty black hair, trying to comfort the distraught young demon. Roy and his father took positions in the corners of the room, hovering in slow circles. Edie, the youngest member of the Campbell family, drifted away from Stacy's bed to make room for the doctor and his young assistants. Dr. Doyle sat in the far corner of the bed and motioned to his daughter to come closer. Kathy took the medical bag from her brother Scott and placed it next to her father. Dr. Doyle took the moment to calm himself. "I need to check what state she's in," he said to Melissa. Dr. Doyle removed his hand from under her gown and replied nervously, "Your daughter is fully dilated now. She'll have to start pushing when she has her next contraction." When Stacy tensed up, everyone heard the horrific scream that had rattled the home earlier. The doctor saw that the girl's mouth didn't move and realized her shrieks were projected directly into their brains. Melissa told her daughter to push every time Stacy wailed, until finally the doctor could see the baby's head. He had to assume that Stacy must have been using her dynamic powers to push the baby out. Indeed, there was no way that her frail body could have the strength to birth naturally. At this thought, the baby inside her shot out entirely and confirmed what the doctor had suspected. The doctor almost dodged a projectile out of reflex, but caught the infant before it could hit the floor. Kathy clamped and cut the umbilical cord, while Scott wiped the child down with a wet cloth. Melissa wrapped the child in the blanket and brought it over to its mother's side. "It's a girl. Stacy, say hello to your new daughter." Dr. Doyle released Stacy's restraints, thinking instinctively that the mother would want to hold her new baby. Melissa stood up instead and threw the child into the air. The infant floated in midair and began to spin clockwise. Stacy Campbell rose from her bed and spun beside her new daughter, who she decided to name Sophia. I hope you guys enjoyed that snippet. That was from Dusks and Dawns, available at driftwoodblackheart.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Please share, like, and subscribe to our channel, and find us on all of our social media, links in our bio. Thanks.